This is my aqua sketch. It's used for taking notes underwater or writing notes beforehand. So I've planned all the things I'm going to do in my simulated dives to show people, that sort of thing. It's fantastic. You can do it one-handed, you've got lots of space. This is my 7mm, well, push diving wetsuit. Pretty hard to get on, because it's a custom fitted commercial diving wetsuit. It fits absolutely like a glove, which is really important for staying warm. Feet are particularly important, especially for me. If my feet are warm and happy, then there's a pretty good chance that I'm warm and happy, and wearing these long socks is actually a very convenient place to put some snacks. They go under there. These are standard-ish diving wetsuit boots. They're a sort of fairly robust variety. It is important to have pretty good footwear because you're probably going to be doing some pretty exciting caving beyond the sump. Might need to kick steps in mud banks. Rash vest. After spending a long time in the wetsuit, and you might be in it for 12, even 15 hours. Gloves are extremely important. This is my wing, or my buoyancy compensator. It's important through the dive to keep neutral buoyancy. That helps us stay off the bottom, preserve the cave, and also try to minimise the silting so that we can have visibility. I've got my backup light on here. This will be my primary light that goes on my hand. I have some cookies and arrows to put on the line to help with navigation. And I'm going to put on my wrist my AquaSketch note taker. So that goes on the left, so I can write my right hand. I've got a line cutter there, which is quite important for if I get tangled. Compass. Let's work this exercise. I've got my dive computer, which tells me depths and times, decompression obligations, and I've got a compass for surveying. I have a reel. This has got about 130 metres of guideline on it, so as I go out in the dive into the new area, I will run that out. And not only is it my lifeline for returning, it's got knots every 3 metres, so I can use that as a measurement to survey on the way out. Got another line cutter on this side. They're a pretty important piece of kit. Tanks. Most cave divers, especially most sort of sump divers, push divers, use side mount tanks. You have a much lower profile, so you can go through a much lower section of the cave. These tanks are completely redundant. They're not connected at all. We like that. So that means if one of them somehow vaporizes, fails, disappears, whatever, we still have a completely separate system to get out on. You need to manually balance how far that goes. There's no point breathing one down nearly to empty if the other one can fail. So it's quite important to balance them on the way down, so that if one of them fails, you always have enough gas left in the other one to get out safely. I wear both regulators around my neck to keep them very handy. So if I have one in my mouth, which I normally would, if there's an issue with this one, I know immediately where the other one is. When I swap those over, it's a very quick process, and then I can check on the gauges, see how I'm doing. If you're in a tight thing, you might not be able to reach much of your body, much of your kit. Your chest is wedged against a rock, your back is wedged against a rock. So that's why it's really important to have the spare regulator close to you and accessible. Same for the line cutters. That's why I've got one on each hand. I might not be able to reach one hand or the other. So all the things that are particularly important are right there, up where I need them. Unlike most caving, cave diving has a very long and complex training pathway. That's largely because we have a lot less margin for error. A small mistake can kill you, unfortunately. And so that's a mentality that we pick up, we train for, we try and avoid any assumed skills. We practice, we put ourselves into strange situations, and we build our time, much like an airplane pilot, before we move to the next level and before we go outside of our experience level. Problem solving depends a bit on the situation. Obviously, if you're underwater, the clock is ticking and you're very much on a timeline until you die. Dry caving, you've at least got a bit more time to stop and think about it. The ticking time is probably more thermal, but you effectively just need to be very rational about it. Solve one thing at a time, work on the more important things first, as in life-sustaining things, and then work your way on down from there. Our guideline is literally our lifeline. We follow the guideline out under any conditions, but it's also got the potential to kill us. You can get tangled, you might need to cut it at the end of a dive to retrieve the reel, so line cutters are critically important just in case you do get tangled, and in that desperate situation you need to cut yourself out. So, that's a good example of all the things that can go wrong. Cave diving's not exactly cheap, but it is the sort of thing that you can build up to and into. I started as a uni student and managed to sort of scrape enough together to get by, and slowly, when I got a job, pay your rent, buy cave diving gear. With the rest, yeah. Sort of low four figures. If you buy it all new, which you don't necessarily, and it does last well. These are still the original regulators that I've had for probably 12 years, and I've not treated them well. I service them and do the internals, but they get smashed around. So most cave diving kit lasts. This wetsuit I've had for the best part of eight years. Yeah, so if you get the right stuff, it doesn't wear out too badly.
All right, just a quick announcement.